Hello, y'all, and welcome in. Thanks so much for being here. Today, we're diving into Sebastian, Katie, and Chris's birth charts. We're looking into what it shows us about future justice we can possibly expect in the Sebastian Rogers case. In this video, I do want to talk about something very heavy, but also something very important. We're going to look at the charts of Sebastian, his mom, Katie, and his stepdad, Chris. Astrology doesn't excuse anyone's behavior, but it does show us patterns. It shows us the lessons that we can't escape and the consequences that come when you keep avoiding them. And more than that, it shows us how children, especially kids like Sebastian, are our mirrors. They come into our lives to show us what we need to see. So here's how we'll do this. First, I'll break down Katie and Chris's updated birth charts and what lessons are written there. Then I'll go into what's still coming this year and next, because the energy shows the story isn't over. And before we close, I'll talk about how Sebastian feels now, because his energy is still very much here. So first, we'll be starting off with Katie. So from the birth dates I got, Katie is a Virgo. Virgos are supposed to learn humility, compassion, and service. But in shadow, Virgos turn cold, nitpicky, and judgmental. Virgos can get so caught up in what's wrong with everyone else that they completely miss the lesson they're supposed to learn themselves. She's got Saturn in Capricorn, and Saturn is all about responsibility and consequences. Saturn is the planet that says, if you cut corners, if you avoid accountability, and if you try to sidestep responsibility, sooner or later, I'm coming back around to collect, and you can't dodge Saturn forever. For her, that's the big karmic assignment, facing consequences. It doesn't matter how long she hides or how many excuses she tries to make. Saturn eventually forces you to sit down and face what you've created. And she's run from that lesson over and over, especially when it came to Sebastian. Instead of learning compassion, she projected her own flaws onto him. Instead of looking at herself, she chose blame. And all that avoiding piles up. Saturn doesn't forget, and right now Saturn is sitting opposite her sun, which is like a cosmic judge saying, you've run out of time. Have you ever noticed how karma circles back around when someone avoids responsibility? Drop a green heart in the chat if you've seen that in your own life. Next is Chris. So Chris's birthday is October 5th of 1983, which makes him a Libra. Chris is a Libra. Libras are supposed to learn balance, fairness, and how to live in truth. But Shadow Libra hides behind masks. They look calm and charming on the outside, but hide conflict, rage, or control underneath. His generation has Pluto in Libra. Pluto is the planet of truth and exposure, and in Libra, that means all the karmic lessons come through relationships, through fairness, and through justice. When someone misuses power in that area, Pluto eventually drags it out for everyone to see. And for Chris, it's even stronger. His sun ties in with Mars' energy that year, which amps up volatility and aggression. That's someone who feels the need to dominate and control, but hides it under the Libra smooth, everything's fine surface. When you combine that with Pluto's energy, it creates a setup where he can't keep that mask on forever. And right now, Pluto is shifting into Aquarius, activating his whole generation's Libra placement. This is when the mask starts slipping. Secrets, lies, and aggression that's all been buried, all of that gets dragged out. His chart says exposure is coming, and it says it loudly. Do you think masks always slip eventually? Drop a red flag in the chat if you've seen someone's true colors show after they hid it for too long. And now we're going to be looking into Sebastian's chart. I have his birthday as December 7th of 2008, which makes him a Sagittarius. Sebastian is a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius kids are truth tellers. They shine light in places people don't want it shined. They're blunt, they're honest, and they don't let you pretend for long. His chart shows he came here as a teacher. Sagittarius souls are meant to expand awareness, to make people see a bigger picture. Sebastian wasn't random. He is a karmic assignment for his parents. And his autism isn't a flaw. It is the mirror they were given. They were supposed to learn patience, unconditional love, and compassion through him. Instead, they resisted, and by resisting, they failed their test. But here's the part I want to stress. Just because they failed doesn't mean Sebastian's soul has failed. His Sagittarius light means he's still teaching. Even though they tried to silence him, his energy is still here, exposing their shadows and inspiring people to pay attention to kids like him. That's the thing about Sagittarian energy. You can't shut it up. Truth finds a way out, and Sebastian's truth is still shining. Drop some more green hearts in chat if you feel Sebastian's light is still shining and teaching people even now. So now we're going to be putting this together with their charts as far as the future legal process and what we could expect from that based on their charts. When you line these charts up, it becomes really clear. Katie's big lesson is accountability. Saturn says she must face consequences. Chris's lesson is balance and justice. Pluto says his mask is going to be ripped away. Sebastian's role was to be the mirror that showed them who they really were, and his chart says his truth has not disappeared with him. Katie and Chris ended up as enabler and aggressor, one avoiding and one enforcing. And Sebastian, he was the truth that exposed them both. And now, Saturn is pressing on Katie's Virgo sun, and Pluto is pressing on Chris's Libra generation. These are not soft energies. They are heavy, and they are karmic energy. Saturn and Pluto don't play. When they are active, you see consequences and exposure that can't be escaped. This isn't vague, and this isn't abstract. The astrology says Katie and Chris's karmic contracts are now due. They don't get to run forever, and Sebastian's chart says his story is shining until the truth comes out. Updated karmic and legal forecast for Chris and Katie. Fall of 2025 and onward. Late September through October of 2025. Now through early fall. We're stepping into eclipse season again, and this is powerful. Eclipses are truth tellers. They rip the masks off and they show what's been hidden. These eclipses are happening in Virgo and Pisces, which slam directly into Katie's chart. This means accountability, exposure, and consequences coming forward. For Chris, Libra season always stirs the pot. His sun is in Libra, and right now the energy is pressing hard on those placements. This is when secrets start to feel too heavy to hold. So the energy right now is about cracks forming in their story, the mask slipping, and the truth creeping out whether they like it or not. November through December of 2025, late fall into winter. As we move into late fall, Saturn is pushing against Katie's sun. Saturn is the planet of consequences. It's not fast, but it's really heavy. So this is where accountability energy feels sharp. For Chris, Pluto is hitting his Libra generation placements harder and harder. This is when we see karmic exposure. Even if it's not in a rush yet, the energy shows more leaks, more talks, and more collapse in their personal world. Their foundation, it keeps cracking. January through March of 2026. Winter into early spring. The new year doesn't lighten up for them. Saturn stays on Katie. She can't escape the lesson of consequences. For Chris, Pluto is really digging in by this point, dragging up things he thought could stay hidden. This window looks like continued pressure. If nothing has broken legally by now, this is when the system catches up. Saturn and Pluto don't miss their target. It just depends how long it takes to play out here in the physical world. April through June of 2026, spring. By spring of 2026, the lessons are unavoidable. Saturn moves further through Pisces and eclipses return again. More light, more exposure, and more accountability. For Chris, Pluto's presence continues to unravel the mask. This is when I'd expect major turning points if they haven't already come. Whether that's arrest, indictments, or very public fallouts. Astrology is showing collapse that cannot be avoided. Right now through October, the eclipse energy is ripping off masks. Cracks in the story and exposure are starting to show. November through December. Accountability pressure builds. Reputation collapses further. Early 2026. Karma continues to tighten. If it hasn't broken open legally yet, this is where it boils over. And then spring of 2026. Turning point. Things cannot hold together any longer. I want to close this video with Sebastian himself. He is not stuck in anger and he is not reliving what happened, but he is still aware. He sees the injustice and he wants his story told, not because he needs revenge, but because he wants to be remembered, honored, and to help other kids like himself. When I feel him, I feel a gentleness. He feels proud of people who are standing up for him. He feels connected to every single heart that remembers him and speaks his name, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. So when we speak his name, when we share his story, that's how his light keeps shining on. Drop a star in the chat if you feel Sebastian's presence here with us tonight. So what do we take from this? Katie's chart says she has to face consequences. Chris's chart says his mask will be ripped away. And Sebastian's chart says his truth is eternal. The astrology of 2025 is lined with karmic pressure. Spring builds it. Summer makes it louder. And fall brings exposure. And by winter, avoidance isn't an option anymore. Sebastian's light is still here. His story is still unfolding. And karma doesn't forget. It always circles back around. Y'all have a good night, everyone.